I have a confession. I have not been giving enough praise to my friends in the creative space. And frankly, that's disappointing. I feel as though I'm consistently watching things from people around me and being genuinely impressed. I'll give it a like or a thumbs up, but usually that's it. And I started to ask myself, like, why is this happening? Why is it that sometimes I feel unintentionally reluctant to give praise and give compliments to others in the creative space? After a lot of thinking, I may have figured it out. Before we break this down, I'm gonna ask you guys two questions. And if you're anything like me, the second one is going to be much harder to answer than the first. Here we go. First question. What famous artist inspires you the most? Now, when I say artist, I'm not talking about any specific field. It could be a musician, an actor, an author, whatever. Just think about a famous person whose work inspires you. For me, my favorite movie director is Yorgos Lanthimos. If you haven't seen any of his films, highly recommend. Now, the second question, who is the person in your field who's on your level, so to speak, whose work inspires you the most? I don't know about you guys, but when I first asked myself this question and really started thinking about it, I was honestly kind of shocked with how hesitant I was to come up with an answer. And it's not because I'm not surrounded by people whose work is inspirational. In fact, I think it's the opposite. Let me explain that a bit. The culture that has been created around us, or even by us, is one that has turned art into a competition. Like, as much as I'd like to say that I don't get caught up in the numbers, I definitely find myself spending a lot more time focusing on them, worrying about them than I would care to admit. And let's be honest here, we're not only caught up in our own numbers, we're looking at the content of other creators and comparing our numbers to theirs, the quality of our content to theirs. And look, it's a totally normal and natural thing to do, but I think this truth has made it more difficult for us to appreciate the work of those around us because we're like subliminally trained to view them as competition. The moment your craft goes from a hobby to a career, those around you in the same space can become measures of skill or success. Once you see someone as competition, it can be incredibly difficult to allow yourself to still be inspired by that person, because being inspired is basically acknowledging the things about their work that we'd like to see in our own. When you're viewing someone as competition, it can be almost instinctual to not want to make those acknowledgments about their work or give them praise, because once you do that, in a way, it can kind of feel like defeat. In many ways, this competition can go beyond our screens and creep into nearly every facet of our lives. If your friend gets a new, nice car, you want a nicer car. If you want a nicer car, you've got to work harder. If you want a nicer house, you've got to work better. This is an exhausting process of so many of our lives. It's sort of like going around in a revolving door. And so we try and balance it by looking for the negatives in other people's work or their lives. Like, we've been brainwashed into seeking flaws instead of seeking inspiration and showing appreciation, because the flaws of others somehow make us feel better about ourselves. Like, it's so backwards to me that we allow ourselves to be so inspired by the intangible lives of the lucky few living at the top, while being so jealous and resentful of others in our circles. Like, honestly, if we just allow ourselves to be inspired by the people closest to us, the goals that we have for our lives can become a lot more realistic. Yorgos Lanthimos is an incredible director, and I'm unbelievably inspired by his work. I mean, I love watching his films, taking inspiration for my projects, but there's just simply no way that I could operate at that scale, at least for the moment. But when I see the work of my friends in the space like YC Imaging or Aiden Robbins or Danny Gewirtz, I see things that I can do, and that allows my inspiration to be put into motion. Lately, I've been trying to allow myself to more often appreciate the work of those around me and to consume content as a viewer and not as a creator. And I really can't describe how freeing it's been. I found myself enjoying watching more content, watching different types of things from new people, leaving positive comments, sending messages to creators. It's made me more excited, more motivated to just get out and go create more. We all look for validation, no matter how small it is. We all need the occasional amazing work, or I connected with this, just that positive reassurance that you're doing something right. I don't know if I'll ever be able to shake those comparative thoughts that always seem to creep into my mind, but I know that I'm going to do better in leading with an approach of radical support and showing appreciation for the creativity of all of my friends. I know that this will make me healthier, it'll make me happier, and it'll help me cultivate meaningful relationships with my friends who share my love for this art form.